And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Roger, roll, Atlantic. Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
We did have an observation.
Equination.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No! Oh my god.
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good evening / early morning. You are taking a live look right now at Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, where SpaceX is getting ready to launch a Falcon 9 on the Starlink 6-101 mission. And as always, this is not your ordinary Starlink, and we will always talk about why. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. I'm your host for this evening's broadcast, but as always, you're not stuck listening to just me for the next hour or so. I am also joined tonight in the studio by JG. We'll call him American J as opposed to our other J. How's it going?
Going pretty well. Happy to be here. Looking forward to watching something launch into space.
Exactly. And of course, we need to provide views for you. And out in the field doing that for us tonight is Jerry Pike. Jerry, how's it going?
It is going great. It's a little bit chilly out here tonight, but there's very little wind, beautiful clear skies, nothing to complain too much about out here.
Exactly. And we'll talk about the weather forecast, why there really isn't that much to complain about, too. And then tonight, producing, pushing the buttons, pulling the levers is Carson Phillips. And as always, if you have any questions, you can tag us at NASA Spaceflight or at NSF, and it will pop up in our little program that we have here, and we can go through and answer some of your questions throughout today's launch broadcast. So, let's begin things off here with today's mission. Again, this is the Starlink 6-101 mission. And if you're wondering, wait a minute, so this is the 101st launch of Group 6? No, this is actually the 100th Group 6 launch for Starlink. SpaceX numbering makes no sense. 100 was the 99th, and 101 is the 100th. Told you it's not your ordinary Starlink.
Yeah. We need confetti with cannons and the little party horns.
Yeah, woo, we all like those round numbers. 100! Woo!
Yeah.
But yeah, so this one, though, despite the fancy numbering, means it is going where most of the Starlink Group 6 satellites end up going. And that, of course, in this case means with the winter time, it will be launching on a southeasterly trajectory away from Cape Canaveral. And hopefully we will see a landing on the deck of Just Read the Instructions, the drone ship downrange tonight. And Bob is also downrange to recover the fairings. Once those separate away, scoop them up and bring them back. Jay, do you mind walking us through the history of this booster, B1095?
Yeah, so this is, I guess, compared to some of the other boosters, we could call it a relatively newer booster. This B1095, which has launched 4 Starlink missions before, and this is going to be its 5th one. And compared to some of the others where it's been like 20 Starlink missions, this is, like I said, fairly new. So looking forward to seeing it getting another notch in the belt, if you will, for Starlink.
Exactly. Weirdly, like the one we saw the other night with the GPS launch, it did these, the NASA IBAT mission, GPS. This one did 4 Starlinks, and now it's about to make it 5. This is all Starlink all the time, B1095. Mm-hmm. It's like a radio station.
Specialized.
B1095, the wolf.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. But out there tonight, as Jerry was talking about, it is, we were saying, what's colder than cool? Florida cold. It is on the chillier side out there tonight. How is the weather looking, by the way, Jerry?
The weather out here is looking magnificent. There's some really interesting contrails from the planes going overhead getting lit by the 3/4 moon. I'm not super familiar with with the phases of the moon. It's directly over the VAB behind me actually, and it's has a really nice illumination down here onto the lawn. But yeah, no clouds, lots of stars, no wind, beautiful weather out here.
That's what we always like to hear. And yes, as you can see there from the official forecast from the 45th Weather Squadron, 95% chance of favorable weather. The only concern is the thick cloud rule, which, from the sounds of it, what Jerry's saying is not really going to be an issue. And of course, the additional risk criteria, we like to see those green circles there, meaning that the risk of upper level wind shear, booster recovery weather, and solar activity being a factor is all low. Beautiful. All right. And again, if you have questions, you can tag us at NASA Spaceflight or at NSF, and we will answer as many of them as we can tonight after I go back to the correct tab where I had everything. Oh, and also for people wondering, the temperature out there, I believe it's about 58 degrees Fahrenheit, which is approximately 14 degrees Celsius. So just keeping that in mind for temperature-wise. I already know where chat's going to go with this. Well, that's not cold. It's insert negative number here. I mean, I guess it's hard to describe if you've never been to Florida. Jay, you've been to Florida, right?
I have been to Florida. Yeah, I have had the delightful opportunity of traveling to Florida from, it was Iowa at the time, which was in the middle of winter, and then landing in Florida and walking out the plane and going, I don't need this coat anymore, which was really nice.
Well,
but it can get a little cool.
If you don't need a coat, apparently Jerry needs a new coat, and there is a super chat goal to buy Jerry a new jacket where it says it's cold in Florida. So, yep, I already see the people in chat. It's not cold, but yeah, it's also, you have to take into the fact that when you're right along the water, there's the wind, and then also add in the humidity. It makes it a different kind of cold. It's not just that, oh, it's freezing. It's that kind of cold to the bone. So
and that jacket would get put to good use with the we have the wet dress rehearsal coming up in potentially the next week, but I know that the weather is a constraint and the temperature specifically is a constraint for that, and it will get like somewhat legitimately cold here in Florida, looking down into even like the 20s here coming up over the weekend and into the beginning of next week. So that's definitely something that we're not looking forward to. I'm certainly not, but yeah, also SLS definitely is not looking forward to that cold temperature either. So
yeah, and that actually is one of the things that has popped up. They should have had the call to stations earlier tonight, but we did not get any confirmation from NASA of that happening for Artemis, as you see on the right side of your screen there, over at nearby 39B. And we've not heard anything about them getting into the countdown either. And of course, there is word that it's very likely postponed because of the weather currently. And in case you haven't seen the forecast for the next 48 hours or so, it's going to drop to near record low temperatures for parts of Florida. We're talking temperatures as low as the 20s and potentially teens Fahrenheit for Florida. That, again, we're talking negative Celsius for Florida, which is unusual to say the least. So with that and the strong winds coming, that becomes a factor. And I can already hear you asking, but wait, Sawyer, what are the weather criteria that they have to worry about for Artemis II tanking tests? Well, that's a good question, whoever asked that. So basically, the official rule says to do not initiate tanking if the 24-hour average temperature at both the 132 and 250 foot level is less than 41.4 degrees Fahrenheit. So if the average is less than 41.4 degrees Fahrenheit, which, quick conversion here, is, that helps when you type it in, right? Sorry. That comes out to, come on, there we go. A little over 5 degrees Celsius. If that's the case, then they can't actually do tanking. Winds are more of a factor for launch, not really as much for the tanking test, but in case you're wondering what the wind criteria is for Artemis II, it is do not launch if the peak winds at liftoff exceed a range of 29 through 39 knots between 132 and 457 feet. And taking a look right now live over at Starbase Live, it appears we have some transport stand action happening down there. What do we have moving? Jay, any idea?
I think this was. Oh, I was trying to remember exactly what one of our folks that is on the SPL team was saying. It was. I honestly forget exactly what it was. A
It's
ring
a boost.
for.
It's a booster transport stand.
Yeah, boost trend for a ring. That's right. Okay. Gotcha.
Which, weirdly, as you can see there, has no booster. We've been hoping to see Booster 19 roll out. Obviously, that hasn't happened yet. We were also maybe hoping to see that roll out to the pad. And again, at this case, rolling out, we believe, to the launch site empty. Why, SpaceX? Why? Tell us why.
It's been something that I have been watching our team speculate about all day because they've been like, oh, well, maybe it's going for test fits. Why isn't it going to Massey? All these different things. So it's back and forth trying to figure out what's going on, like preparing for the potential move. And now it actually is underway and moving.
And of course, right during Starlink coverage.
Of course. Well, we've got some time here at the start.
Exactly. That's fine. Let's see here. Let's get to some questions. 9/8 Central coming in with one. Will the WP-57s currently in maintenance delay any major launches? Jay, you saw what happened with the WP-57 plane, right?
Yes, I did. It was a very nicely done gear up landing. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but there was a gear up landing, so a belly landing for WP-57, and I haven't seen any news about specifically what happened yet, but that is something that happened. So that is one plane that is currently not going to be available for tracking.
Exactly. Yeah, and of course they have 3 of them in total. 2 of them are currently in maintenance, and as I was saying the other night, well, now a third one is technically in maintenance as well. But in regards to an update on it, NASA's public affairs official up at the top, Bethany Stevens, did say that both crew members were cleared and are in good health. And most importantly, in regards to the, 3 WB-57s and the upcoming Artemis II launch, the key line being that the one involved in further down, NASA anticipates no impact to Artemis II operations given the multiple aerial assets available to support, including the Gulfstream 5, Gulfstream 3, and a U.S. Navy C-20. These aircraft will provide imagery during key mission phases, including launch, entry, and splashdown. So, not a cause for concern, at least in that case. So it will not delay any major missions. I'm guessing you meant in particular Artemis there. Let me thank some people here real quick. Astro Talks, thank you for becoming a PadRat member. Abdulia, thank you for becoming a PadRat member as well. Mr. Fluffy with a $5 super chat saying 101 Best Coast Freeway. Jerry wouldn't need a jacket on the Best Coast. Other words, stuff. Is there a temperature limit with cryogenic fuels? I don't think I've heard anything in regards to there being major temperature concerns with Falcon 9. Because I know one of the main concerns that they have, of course, with Artemis are those solid rocket boosters. The O-ring field joints that they have in there are only able to withstand certain temperatures before they lose their flexibility, as we saw 40 years ago the other day. So as a result, they're a little more cautious with that. As for Falcon 9, you're basically looking at most of the tank structure here. Of course, there's the actual tanks for the liquid oxygen and the RP-1, but there's really not that much in between it. It's basically just the metallic tube that is Falcon 9, the second stage, and that's really it. There's not as many joints, not as many things to worry about, and they're used to those super cold temperatures. So from my understanding, there's not really a cold temperature concern with Falcon 9. Flippers, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Good to see you. Dragonaut saying anything about the upcoming moon voyage. Well, as we were talking about there, that wet dress rehearsal is still kind of maybe happening soon, but on hold at the moment, but no later than February 2nd was the original plan. What are the steps, by the way, Jay, that still need to happen before we can get to actually see the Crew of 4 launch on Artemis II?
Well, wet dress rehearsal is really kind of the big key thing because once that has occurred, we'll be able to know, or at least have a better idea of when launch actually is expected. Because we see online all over the place. Well, when is launch? When is launch? When is launch? Because obviously people want to come see it. They want to do travel, all that kind of stuff. And so wet dress rehearsal is going to give us the best idea of knowing when actually we will have crew moving to the rocket and then getting up into the capsule and then launching their way out beyond the moon. But that is sort of the most important big step one, is getting that out of the way, and then we'll know better when we'll be moving forward.
Yep, and a reminder, there are launch windows for Artemis are kind of weird and unusual compared to what we're used to with, say, Falcon 9, where it can push, a couple days. It's not really like, oh, it has to launch in the next 3 days or else it can't launch for a year or whatever, although we've had missions like that. But with Artemis, because of where the moon is located, where they are trying to go around the moon, and also because of the solar conditions once they reach Earth orbit, there's only a certain amount of time that the heat shield can be in the cold temperatures around Earth for less than, basically, it can be no more than 90 minutes in cold. So the way that they have to do that is be very careful with their launch windows and when they launch, hence why there's so many night launch opportunities. So as of right now, the opportunities are the 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th, and 11th of February for Artemis II. If it does not go on any of those dates, it will then have to move to the second week of March. So
Yep,
good
pretty big
question.
jump
There's the update on that. Oh yeah, and then if it doesn't go in that same time frame in March, then it jumps to April.
Yep.
So it's a little more specific on the windows here. Revhead, thank you as well for the super chat. No message, but appreciate it. And the French Taunter, thank you for gifting 1 Red Team membership. I'm sticking my thumb out on my nose as John Cleese did on the top of the castle. And look at that. It is so weird. Barely seeing the booster transport stand. Is that Vandenberg or is that Starbase? Sorry, I had to do it. No, that is Starbase. That's over on our Starbase Live 24/7 cameras. Sorry, Carson was going to say that apparently. Beat you to it. Oh, wait, no, I stand corrected. This is the other stand moving to Massey's. So there's another stand on the way.
So they're just going opposite directions. All right.
Yeah, you go left, I'll go right, and break.
Yep.
So this one, Gage in the back channel is telling us that they might be using this to go pick up 18.3, which is one of the test tanks, I believe, over at Massey's. And there's, I believe, a photo of that stand with some Cybertrucks in front. And yeah, so here's some pictures we're getting in from the field. Caesar out there at Starbase, part of our awesome team continuing to bring the coverage from there. So yeah, we have 2 stands on the move at Starbase, and we have 2 rockets on the pad at Cape Canaveral.
Wonderful problem to have, really.
And the West Coast has nothing. Anyway.
There's stuff coming up, maybe. We'll see. It's probably there.
I'm just saying this because I know it gets Fluffy in chat a little upset, so I had to do it.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Sorry, West Coasters. We do love all of you.
Vandenberg is a beautiful launch facility.
It is. It sounds fantastic to hear launches from there.
Mm-hmm.
We now are about 40 minutes to go, so we're getting into kind of the key phases here of the countdown for Falcon 9. So hopefully in just a couple of minutes, they will give that go for propellant load. Unfortunately, we don't get to hear that conversation. That all happens on a loop that we don't hear. And in addition to that, they don't actually say anything. It's all done with buttons on their consoles. If the go is given, then in about 5 minutes from now, they will start loading up their propellants. That begins with the RP-1, the Rocket Propellant 1, the refined form of kerosene, into stage 1, as well as the RP-1, as well as the LOX, the liquid oxygen, into stage 1. Meanwhile, the RP-1 will also load into stage 2, but not yet, the LOX. That will happen following the T-minus 20-minute, 20-second vent, when they chill down that propellant line for the LOX load, and then at the T-minus 16-minute mark, when the vent disappears, the load will have begun. So hopefully we will get all of that coming up very soon. Let's see here. 98 Central with a bit of a physics question. I don't know if you know the answer to this one. Do you know why we don't hear sonic booms during liftoff, only during landing?
Ooh, I don't have 100% correct answer for that. My assumption would be either because of the direction that it's traveling and just the way that it's pointing essentially as it goes through transonic, but that would be my main guess. Distance also might be a factor, but obviously, we hear them coming in as well. But that's also when the booster is coming generally at us, if it's a return to launch site. But that's just sort of my educated guess, I should say.
Yeah, my understanding is that it is partly because of how high it is and the fact that it is moving away from you. That's my understanding on it. And so, yeah, that's why when it's coming back down, it's a lot closer to the ground and it's bouncing downward and then bounces back up off the ground. That's when we get the multiple booms.
Yep. Then it bounces off the VAB and it bounces off all the other buildings at the Cape.
Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic to hear.
Makes some great noise. Hopefully,
Yeah.
we will see that for Crew 12. Although, again, we don't know because LZs 1 and 2 are officially retired for SpaceX. They are no longer leased out to the company. So the only option now, as they were given permission for, is to land back at the same launch pads that they launch from. Pad 39 does not actually have a landing pad yet for Falcon 9. We also haven't seen any launches yet this year from 39A, as they tend to focus a lot more on Falcon Heavy and Starship stuff over there. But at 40, they do have a landing zone that is almost done from the looks of it. Don't know if it is done or is close to being done, but we've got glimpses of it through some of the SpaceX cameras that they have near the pad. So maybe, just maybe, we will actually see a landing there soon. And if it is for Crew 12, that would be the first landing back at the new landing zone inside Space Launch Complex 40 over there at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Same pad you're looking at now. From where we're looking at it from this direction, it would kind of be camera left. Again, can't see it because of the trees and bushes and how we're zoomed in here. Just the press site doesn't allow for that view. But from our vantage point, I believe it's to the left of that. Let's see here. Mr. Fluffy coming in with an interesting one going back to the weather. Let's see, we are 6/10 of the way to getting Jerry a jacket finally. They're talking about the falling iguanas. Is there falling iguana warnings incoming? Yes. Yes, there actually is. For those who don't know, in Florida, we have iguanas. They're pretty famous around here, especially in southern parts of Florida where I am. And they like to hang out in trees. Problem is, when it gets really, really cold, their body can't really handle that. So they end up essentially going to sleep for a little bit and going into a kind of hibernation state. They then, as a result, lose their balance in the trees and fall out of the trees onto the ground, onto people's cars, onto people's heads. Yes, all of that has happened. And yes, I have seen them on the ground. It is a real, legit thing. So, yeah. Falling iguana warning will be in effect. And there you go. Thank you, Carson. Pulling up that view from a previous launch over at Pad 40. That is the landing zone. You can see there's a crane laying down on it at that point. So hopefully that will be in action soon. The first mission coming up that would make sense for a return to launch site is Crew 12, which as of now, I believe is no earlier than February 11th. But of course, that could change also depending on when Artemis goes and crew readiness and everything for that.
It's really going to help simplify choices when it comes in terms of where you want to view a launch from. Because it used to be, oh, well, okay, if there's a SpaceX launch and it's going to be returning to the launch site, do I want to be closer to the landing or closer to the launch? Now you kind of get the best of both worlds, and it's all in the same area.
Yeah, closer to landing or launch? Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So hopefully we see that come up very soon, and I hope they let us set up remote cameras for that.
I hope so. Because it's not that far, right? Just, okay, can I just go just a little bit further over there, just set up a camera?
That would be nice. Yeah, I see Carson asking in the back channel, would this be the closest we can be to RTLS? Very likely. Again, unless Space Force offers their own viewing opportunity, which admittedly, if they do allow us to view a launch from our normal viewing spots, like there was for GPS the other night where we were located, that is, it's about 2 miles away from where that would be landing. That will be kind of redonkulous, for lack of a better word. Whereas it's about 2-ish miles closer to us than the old LZs were. So that would be spectacular, but we'll see what they allow as they deal with safety risks and things like that.
I've
Let's see.
seen a couple of questions come in, which are related. One was, I think it was Miguel Morales asking about the trajectory of the rocket, and then let's see, Clear VOD was just asking if it would be visible from Fort Lauderdale. It should be, because the rocket is going to be launching to the southeast tonight and passing northeast of the Bahamas, so you should have a pretty good view of it as it goes southeast, kind of along the Florida coast there.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I'm located just a little bit north of that, and we get clear views of all these launches, especially the southeastern ones. So if you have clear skies, put on a jacket that Jerry doesn't have, and head on out there and take a look, see if you can see it. And if you do see anything, or happen to capture any videos or photos from where you're located, I love seeing them. Send it to us on socials. We're on X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky, all of those. Send them to us and tag us. I really enjoy seeing other people's views of the launch, genuinely.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. So now we are on Frostwatch, folks. At this point, fueling should be underway, and if that's the case, in the next minute or two, we will hopefully see frost form on the bottom of Falcon 9 here. And if that is the case, then we know they are committed to the T0 tonight of 2:22 a.m. Eastern Time because of the load and go procedure that SpaceX uses. So basically, once they start loading propellants, they are super chilled and super dense. So to prevent extra boil off and things like that, they load as close to launch as possible. That means that if for some reason there was a hold in the count, once they start fueling, they would not be able to hold long enough to maintain all of that propellant at that super cold temperatures, and so they would have to call off the launch. I can see some frost already, though. Chad, I'm not sure if you see it too. Jay, I don't know if you see it as well, but it looks like by that one branch sticking up, there is some frost.
Yeah, there might be a little bit. And do keep in mind, folks, maximum zoom. Wow.
Thank you, Carson.
Yeah. Do keep in mind that a lot of times we'll see that ice shaking off through flight. So if you see parts coming off, that is more than likely going to be the ice. So that's totally normal, a nominal situation.
Yeah, that looks like it's starting to me. So we will see. Let me also see where we're at. So with that prop load going, let's take some more of your questions and support here, which we are 2 away from getting Jerry his jacket. So, yeah, as we get into the count here, 11 minutes to go till the best event. Also, we should probably get Jerry some alligator repellent. Cape Security, as we call it, is out tonight. So we'll see. Yeah, if you've never heard the gators, they like to growl a lot and make some weird noises, especially when it launches. If it's this late at night, yeah, it's quite loud. So
I've never heard it myself. I've definitely been there covering launches, like running the camera, and had people shining flashlights into the water, seeing dolphins and stuff at night, or maybe gators at night. Like, not quite sure what it was out there, but I haven't had to hear them yet. So I've been fortunate in that regard. Unfortunately, poor Jerry's out there freezing and also concerned about being eaten by gators.
No, I could take my spotlight down to the water. You know, you can tell the gators when you'll just see 2 reflective eyes just sitting up at the surface, and those are always alligators. But no, there was some very strange noise. I think it was like a wild hog or something over in the bushes on the other side of the lawn here. It's interesting things going on at night. It's not your average Starlink.
There, not your ordinary Starlink, indeed. There you go. As we hit the 30-minute mark to go until launch, everyone's excited, including the nature, flora, fauna, and animals over at Cape Canaveral Spaceport Station. Jerry, I think you're going to be warm tonight. Well, once we get you the jacket. We hit it here. 9/8 Central saying much appreciation for those out in the field, the hosts, and superior individuals producing this morning's live stream. Thank you. High praise for Carson. Bideford, good to see you, Bideford. Saying, why was an empty booster stand moving on down the highway? Good evening, nerds. To get to the other side, of course. It sounds like it's at the start of a joke there.
It
I
does.
really
It really does.
to get to the booster. I don't know. I can't come up with something clever right now. Of course, before the stream, I'm making puns left and right, and now we're on the air, and it's like, it's late, folks. Okay, this mission was originally supposed to go closer to the beginning of this launch window, which was at 11 p.m. And in case you haven't noticed, it is now 1:53 a.m. local time here at Cape Canaveral and in Florida. It pushed a bit. So don't know why, but it pushed a bit because SpaceX. Mr. Fluffy, if one has the next spaceflight app, they might have noticed the Best Coast already had a successful launch and landing today. Comedians, I tell ya. Yeah, but how many rockets did you have out on the pad? Starbase had 2 boosters. Starbase had 2 transport stands. Cape has 2 rockets, including one that's going to send people to the moon. Okay, cool. You had a Starlink. Reverse Flash, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. And then it was a back and forth here with Evoel, I believe. Thank you for the €5. Then Revhead coming in with 3 different £5 super chats, 15 in total. Thank you so much for that. And Ort Cloud saying Vandenberg is beautiful until the fog clears. Oh my gosh. I knew I liked you, Ort Cloud. Seen you around. I knew I liked you. And then Designed by Tech saying, enjoy the jacket. What's the funniest launch day superstition ritual that you've heard of? I know there's one person that takes a picture with the rocket, with Trolls dolls that they have, like those Troll dolls from the 90s. I know that's one person's. There's a lot of people that will wear specific articles of clothing or wear specific lanyards. That was me at one point. And one of the oldest traditions that I can recall is inside the NASA press building on launch days. The people that run the kind of like media area inside, so where you would go and back in the days get tapes, and then when I was around, get CDs and DVDs of briefings to be able to use to edit with. They always lay out cookies, and it's a good luck tradition to eat a cookie, not more, a cookie. And they had different ones. Chocolate chip, you'd have Oreos, you'd have all these different kinds. So usually a baked good is a good luck charm. And also we have our amazing Julia Bergeron, besides being a fantastic photographer and commentator, an awesome person who is also a fantastic baker. Let's see here. Ninja Guy Dan asking, what is the closest distance that any worker is able to safely get to a Falcon 9 during launch? From my understanding, I believe it is about a mile. A little over a mile is the closest I've seen people. That's where they also have emergency crews always staged and ready to respond. In fact, again, I keep saying the GPS launch the other night because that's when we were on Cape Canaveral Space Force Station property. There's a road in front of the road where we were located the other night. And that road is about a mile away from the pad. You'll still see cars driving back and forth on it sometimes. So that is totally normal. And it's about a mile if I recall correctly. Let's see. Here's a kind of technical question. I don't know if you want to try taking this one, and I can always back you up on it. So it was 9/8 Central again, coming in with the great questions, asking, how does the second stage relight engines in 0G with propellant slosh?
Oh, okay. So the principle that I am familiar with, between the different rockets, I'm not sure who does what in what method, but the general idea of how you get your propellant to be where you want it to be is that oftentimes you're needing to use your RCS, your reaction control system thrusters, to push the rocket forward a little bit. So that way all of the fuel sloshes back towards where the engine, like the fuel intake is at the quote unquote bottom of the tanks. And then that allows you to get that fuel into the lines and then into the engine, and then obviously propelling forward from that. In terms of the second stage for Falcon 9, feel free to correct me if they do that a little bit differently. I'm just going off of sort of the general process for orbital dynamics and how they do that.
Yeah, I mean that's the basic principle of it at that point. So That makes sense. Let's see here. Again, a lot of good questions tonight. A lot of wildlife questions. 98 Central is loading up the question queue here tonight. I love it. With some really good ones, too.
Yeah.
There's more, I promise. But yeah, in regards to wildlife, do Cape Security wear a jacket in cold weather? I think it's called their scales. I don't know. They're pretty okay with dealing with the Florida cold. They just sink into the water and yeah.
And also keep in mind, if you need to protect yourself from the cold, you can always pick up a jacket at the NASA spaceflight store. I heard that snicker.
That was good.
Thank you.
Very subtle shop.nasa.com
Very subtle.
plug.
I'm all about subtlety.
There you go. About as subtle as a pink suit at a zebra convention.
We have great stuff. What can I say? Like the shop team does amazing work, so I want to promote their work because they are incredible.
And yes, we do have gear that is pink. We don't have anything that makes you look like a zebra. I'm sorry. I don't know where I came up with that comparison. It was totally off the cuff, in case you couldn't tell. And my shirt doesn't even have cuffs. Well, it's just regular t-shirt from the shop that I'm actually wearing. Anyway, we are now.
Carson, I think we need to get a cricket like noise we can have in the background.
I think Carson had one at one point. I don't know
Oh, really?
if it does.
Oh no.
I think that's more for Flame Trench.
Oh yeah, okay, that's fair.
But anyway, we are at about 22 and a half minutes to go now until the launch of Falcon 9 and Starlink 6-101, the 100th Group 6 launch. And one thing that we are coming up on also right now is some more questions here. 9/8 Central asking, why does Playa Linda have to close for the Artemis II launch? I believe it has to do with safety restrictions based off of where it's located, and then if the wind were to blow a certain way, it could, if something goes wrong, spread debris in that direction. That's my understanding, at least, because it is closer than, than the press site is, surprisingly, for parts of it. Also, I'm guessing crowd control as well. So as a result, and the fact that you have the flight termination system that is on board Artemis and everything already, they just don't want people near it. So ahead of the wet dress rehearsal, they have closed down Playa Linda Beach. So if you wanted to go and see it from there, unfortunately, it won't be available. If you wanted to just stop by and see the rocket from there, also, unfortunately, it shuts down officially tomorrow. And they say that it will stay closed through the remainder of the Artemis II launch attempts. It will reopen the day after it launches. So, unfortunately, it's a shame. It is a national seashore over there. It's a gorgeous place to view a launch, gorgeous place to be with your family when you get a chance to. Just not for this launch, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Orcloud also asking, what is that fire-like looking stuff on the right side to the lightning tower? That's just lights. It's just the way that the kind of haze is right there, and also the way that those trees are blocking it. They're just yellow lights, and as a result, it kind of looks like flame. It's not like they have a flare stack like they do for New Glenn or for Vulcan or anything like that. Would be cool though, even though they don't really need one.
Yeah, I mean they could just have it, just for cosmetics, just because it looks cool.
Yeah, you know what else looks cool? That
our merch from the store.
No, the T-minus 20 minutes.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Hey, there it is.
Right on time.
Is this a callback?
That is right on time. That is what we like to see. That is the LOX chill down, or as we call it here, the best vent. This is when they begin chilling down those propellant lines that have been loading the RP1, which is more close to room temperature, and get ready to transition to the super cooled liquid oxygen. That way you don't thermally shock the lines and cause any cracks or breaks or any damage to it. Once that line is thermally conditioned, which takes about till the T-minus 16 minute mark, then they will start loading liquid oxygen into Stage 2. Meanwhile, Stage 1 continuing to load up with the liquid oxygen and the RP1 ahead of tonight's launch. I like the little zoom in, zoom out. That's really cool.
Yeah, that is neat.
Let's see here. Someone is asking, I want to go to Starbase in March. How close can I get, and what do you recommend? Have you been to Starbase yet?
I have not been there yet. No, DOS is definitely like itching to get me there so I can, start my work at that location. But have not been there yet myself.
That would be nice. I also have not been there, but we have our entire team down there right now. You can get, from what I understand, very close to things. Of course, they're starting to wall things off and move things around a bit. It's getting a little more secretive. So,
Mhm.
from my understanding, it's better to get there sooner than later. Of course, right now there's no vehicles out on the pad, but we'll see when Flight 12 ends up being for Starship. Whenever that is, it will be exciting. Finally get to see Pad 2B, that, whatever you want to call it, in action. We've seen them testing out some of the systems on board. I believe we've seen DSS testing and some of the water deluge testing over there. They're working on the air separation unit. They've been bringing a lot of stuff over to the pad there. So it's going to be exciting to finally see that pad up and running, and the photos now with that flame deflector finally in place. Oh, it's going to be chef's kiss.
Actually, speaking of Starbase and being at and working at Starbase, I want to give a shout out to Jerry and Dan, who both last week were at Starbase and now have this week been at the Cape doing work for us at the press site. And Jerry's out there now, freezing without his jacket, covering the launch for us. So props to Jerry and Dan for doing all that work.
Although we'll soon have that jacket. We'll get that to you, Jerry.
It's true. Yeah.
Which, while we have you here at 17.5-minute mark, how is the weather right now besides probably still chilly?
Oh, I mean, I can't to get that jacket. I'll be waiting, sitting in the mail for it. No, weather is definitely just about the same. No clouds out here. There's a real big moon halo actually up in the sky now. A little bit maybe hazier up there. I think there's a small cloud in front of the moon, but like thick cloud rule is 0% chance of violation at this point. There's nothing in the sky, so it's a gorgeous night out.
Fantastic.
Yes, the 22-degree halo, I believe it's called. Love when the atmosphere does that. Maybe we'll see some vapor cone action tonight then, potentially.
Hopefully.
We'll keep an eye out on that, of course. But yeah, we like hearing that clear skies. That means good views for us tonight. And yes, cold, but cold not so much an issue here. Winds have been pretty good, and everything remains favorable for launch at this point. Let me see. Apocalypse Cow, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Appreciate that. And Reverse Flash saying, I saw a Space News article about NASA considering dropping Dragon XL and favoring Starship for Lunar Gateway. Who else should be considered? That's a good question. I mean, I would love to see Dream Chaser. That would be cool.
Man. I love the idea of Dream Chaser so much.
I don't think it would work for a lunar mission, but that would be cool.
Probably not. Yeah, it would be very cool.
I mean, I believe HTVX might be able to do cargo transfers out to Lunar Gateway, but in terms of people, I mean, it would be cool to see Orion launch, even if it isn't on, SLS. If, say, another launch provider wants to take it over, I don't know, someone else with a big rocket. Hey, Blue Origin, how you doing? You got a rocket that maybe can carry Orion? I don't know.
You just gotta duct tape to the top, right? Like you just make it work. Fashion some sort of connector. Yeah.
I would love to see that personally. Yeah. Crew launching on New Glenn. Just saying. Where's Jacqueline? On top of the rocket launching. It's someone named Jacqueline.
Yeah. And just to backtrack just a little bit, because I saw somebody asking about it earlier. I missed the username, or I've forgotten at this point, but someone was asking if there would be anything like Space Shuttle again. And we just mentioned Dream Chaser, which essentially is sort of a miniaturized version of the Space Shuttle. So that is a vehicle that is being worked on. So hopefully we'll be able to see that fly in the relatively near future.
Launching soon, TM. Yes, that is Sierra Nevada. Now Sierra Space has been working on that for a while. We've seen them do tow and carry tests. I believe their Tenacity vehicle is supposedly here in Cape Canaveral, getting worked on, and hopefully launching soon aboard Vulcan. So now, with under 15 minutes to go, let's kind of do a quick recap of the things pertinent to tonight's flight. Of course, we talked about this being 6-101 heading on that southeasterly trajectory, but also we have the booster to talk about. You can see how quick SpaceX moves with these missions now. This, you can see January 27th was when this Falcon 9 made its way out to Slick 40. This was it passing by the vehicle assembly building, and you'll see it pass by SLS as well. This one with 5 flights under and belt, including Starlink 1215, 1056, 1052, 686, and now this will be number 5. Downrange to recover the vehicle is just read the instructions, which also left Port Canaveral on January 27th to head out to the landing zone. You can see it kind of getting tugged out there. Of course, none of those boats will be around it once the booster comes in to land. It will autonomously kind of stay in place. That's why it's the autonomous spaceport drone ship. And that's located about 500 kilometers or so downrange. It gets there right ahead of time and sits and waits. And of course, if you're going to launch a payload, you need the payload. This was just 2 days ago. Well, technically a little over a day ago. This was January 28th. You see it again rolling by the VAB. Both the booster and those fairing halves come from Hangar X over at Roberts Road, which is located on the Kennedy Space Center, not too far away. That's where they're also building the Gigabay that you sometimes see over on Space Coast Live. And that then rolled all the way over to 40, little air conditioning unit on the back. We normally try and keep track of the fairing numbers. We couldn't see it on this particular move. And then speaking of those fairings, being able to recover those fairings is Bob. So it used to be they had the big nets to try and catch everything, which was absolutely awesome. They don't do that anymore because they found it's easier to just scoop them out of the water. So Bob and Doug are the 2 vessels. You see Bob heading out for this one a little further downrange than the drone ship is located to go scoop those out of the water once they come back and then be brought back, refurbished, and reused just like they do the booster. So with Falcon 9, the only thing that is not reused is Stage 2, something obviously they're working to change with the upcoming Starship launches.
And hopefully that video gives a little bit of context to the size of the fairings too, because I mean, you see it rolling down the road, you get a better feel for how large these things actually are. You see a video like this, it's kind of hard to tell how big the rocket is, but those fairings are like 43 feet tall, about 13 meters. Like it's not a small fairing, even though longer shots like this, it does appear to be a little bit smaller.
Yeah, and we're talking a couple $1 million just sitting right on top of the rocket. Can you imagine just, oh yeah, we're going to throw a couple $1 million into the ocean.
Yeah,
we're
just
good.
the fairings, not the payload. Just the fairings.
Well, as long as you're not certain rockets in recent times. There was one where it literally fell off the payload fairing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I believe that was talked about on This Week in Spaceflight, which don't forget, there's a new one coming out tomorrow.
True.
But yes, and Carson was the one who put all that video together, so shout out to Carson. And pointing out, SpaceX multitasking, that fairing rolled by just as the GPS Space Vehicle 309 mission deployed its satellite, which was 90 minutes after launch. That was already rolling by, heading over to Slick 40.
Busy
all
place.
right, that was off the pad, 90 minutes. Cool, let's bring out the next one.
We got work to do.
Yeah, and of course they will keep boosters hanging out inside the horizontal integration facility. I mean, they can only fit so many, but that HIF, that horizontal building that they roll the rockets out from and integrate everything, they can stack a few in there. So, I mean, I don't know the exact way of how they stack it and put it all together, but one thing I do know is how you can put together a Space Launch System, an SLS, and that's with the merch that we have at shop.nasaspaceflight.com, including our SLS assembly shirt.
Hey, another smooth segue. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. That was good.
I'm also proud of the store team for amazing work. You can see there, again, how to assemble with all the different parts, the solids, the different parts of the stages, the little astronaut person, and then, of course, the trajectory of swinging around the moon with Orion with those solar panels. So distinctive on that.
Mm-hmm.
I love this one. It's really cool. And of course, if you're really cool, you can also get it in longer sleeve versions there too, so you can stay warm, as you can see. It's also available on sweatshirts. I mean, we should probably send one out to Jerry in addition to a jacket.
Oh, man.
And we were hoping to be able to debut a new shirt design like in the next couple of days, but with the wet dress rehearsal questionable when it's actually going to happen, you're going to have to wait just a little bit longer. And I'm sorry to make you wait because it is such a cool design. I saw it
It
on
is.
Monday. It is,
Yep.
it's awesome.
We got a
So,
sneak peek.
yep, but check out the Artemis II landing page. You'll see it when it happens. And of course, all the prints from the team that's been out there taking photos of everything. So check that out at the shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Oh, yeah, and the classic SLS one too.
Mm-hmm.
9 minutes to go now until the launch of the Starlink 6-101 mission. Again, as we pointed out, being not your ordinary Starlink, and that 6101 is the 100th launch for Group 6 of Starlink. I guess shells is the best way to put it there.
Yeah, and I think we're approaching the engine shield down starting soon, which is still such an amazing engineering achievement for me. Like to me, not for me. I didn't do it, obviously. But just the fact that you need to heat up your fuel. In fact, here comes our timeline right now. You need to heat up your fuel so that it's a little bit more efficient to burn through the engine, but then you also need to keep your engine cool at the same time. So what they do is they run the cryogenic fuels down through these little tubes that go on the outside of the engine bell, and then that helps to keep the nozzle cool, but also helps to preheat the fuel as well. And they even started doing this way back, and at least starting with the F1, if not before then. I forget exactly which engine started it, but the F1 rockets on the Saturn V, which are enormous, had all this fuel running through them to do the same process. So continuing that legacy of fantastic engineering to make sure that your fuel is optimal temperature for igniting.
Exactly. Keep the engines thermally conditioned while also getting a chance to kind of warm up the propellant to optimize it. I love the engineering that goes into this.
Absolutely.
And so that should be happening about 30 seconds or so from now. That is when they begin chilling down those 9 Merlin 1D engines. And again, it's not just those 9 Merlin engines on the bottom part. The second stage engine also does an engine chill. In fact, sometimes during launch, when you listen to the SpaceX callouts, you can hear MVAC chill down, which is the exact same thing, getting that upper single Merlin vacuum engine ready to go, which that one is a lot larger and wider for optimization in vacuum, whereas the 9 Merlin 1D engines are, of course, optimized for not vacuum, and here closer to the ground and the 2.5 minutes uphill. So now that engine chill should be underway, everything looking good. Just read the instructions, ready downrange for a booster to hopefully land on it. That booster, the one you see on screen, B1095, about to make its 5th flight to space. Of course, on board, as usual, those 29 Starlink V2 mini satellites. Weather has been absolutely favorable tonight and beautiful. The official forecast from the 45th Weather Squadron showing a 95% chance of favorable conditions at launch. The only concern was the thick cloud layers rule, but Jerry Pike, who's out in the field, pointed out earlier that there are basically no clouds in the sky tonight. And in terms of additional risk criteria, upper level wind shear, booster recovery weather, and solar activity risk of being a concern is low, which is the lowest it goes. They'll never say none, they just say low. Really quickly, before we get into the deep part of the count, let me thank a couple more people here. Fluffy coming in saying, merch idea, NSF jacket with Blue Glen's Jacqueline embroidered on it. So it's a Jacqueline jacket. A Jacklet. And Brian Owen, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships as well. So now coming up on 5.5 minutes into the count, this is when things will start to get exciting here. So preparations will start to wrap up at the pad. That will include the strong bag retract. Now, when we say retract, it's not like it's going to move totally far away. We're talking 1.8 degrees away. This is just enough to get it away from the rocket to give it a sort of head start to throw away as it launches, because you don't want to have the wires and cables and connections to the rocket that go through the transporter erector that are out. You don't want those to really get blasted by the engines as they go by as much as possible. So by only retracting at 1.8 degrees, you can use shorter lines. So if for some reason they get extra toasty, it's less stuff that you have to replace, which allows SpaceX to use the cadence that they have, which is making Slick 40 the busiest launch pad in the world. And so we should see that. Go ahead.
Can you believe that it is the 30th of January and we've already had 13 SpaceX launches this year?
I want to say no, I don't believe it,
Or
but it's
this will
SpaceX,
be
so I
the 13th.
totally believe it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This will be the 13th, I should say.
And there's
Just
the
wild.
call out. Strong back retract has started, so you'll see the clamps kind of underneath the fairing halves open up, and then that 1.8 degree lean back. Of course, as I mentioned, it does throw all the way back at liftoff, but it's meant for easier maintenance and things as they refurbish it. Because, like I was saying, that transporter erector, besides moving it out of the HIF, the horizontal integration facility, and putting it upright, yeah, it also provides propellant lines. It also provides cooling lines, data lines, able to thermally condition the payloads. When we showed the video earlier of them rolling out, there was a giant air pack on the back. There's something just like that at the pad to keep the air conditioning, I like to call it, for the satellites. And so now you can see those lines, little bit of tension on them as the strong back does its retraction. We should also get call-outs now of propellant loads starting to wrap up here on Falcon 9.
And while we've got just a little bit of time as the timer ticks down, I saw a couple of times, I think it was I'm Trucker Tony, asking about what max Q is. So while we have a little bit of time to explain it, I figured I'd jump into it because as the rocket's ascending, we're going to have a lot of different callouts going all at once. So max Q is the period of time in which the rocket is going fast enough, but it is still low enough in the atmosphere where it's denser that the rocket experiences what's called maximum dynamic pressure, or what's called max Q. And that's basically just the most forces being applied to the rocket by the atmosphere as it's progressing upwards through the atmosphere. As it gets higher and higher, there's less pressure on it from the atmosphere, so there's just this little period of time where it has this maximum dynamic pressure impacting the flight of the vehicle. So they'll usually throttle down a little bit as they get through that, and then as they get into the thinner air, they will throttle back up.
Yeah, even though it's going faster, the air is at its thickest as it's doing that, and it's just kind of that match of forces.
Yeah.
Under 2.5 minutes to go. Falcon 9 almost fully fueled. We should be getting the call out shortly that Falcon 9 is fully fueled with all the propellant loads wrapping up. Once they do that, they will purge out all of those gas lines at the pad, vent any excess stuff that may be remaining, close everything out so that there's no leaks or anything. Of course, as Falcon 9 ignites those 9 Merlin 1D engines, you don't want any flamey bits around loose gases that could be flammable.
Yeah.
Stage
I love that shot from the pad camera, though, with the moon in the background. That's beautiful.
And there we go. Stage 2 LOX load is complete. So now we have Falcon 9 fully fueled and ready to go. The next call out will be for those gas closeouts. And then we have Falcon 9 entering startup at T-minus 1 minute. That is when the onboard computers take control of the count and the tanks get pressurized to their flight levels. Let's listen in for that closeout call.
Ground gas closeouts.
Right on time. Again, our clock is a couple of seconds faster because our main view that you will see at launch doesn't have as much latency. So that is why there's the couple second difference there. So as mentioned, next up will be Falcon 9 entering startup. Then at the T-minus 45 second mark, that is when the launch director will hopefully give the go for launch. And let's wait for that call out.
Falcon 9 has entered startup.
There we go. So, Falcon 9 is making all of the decisions at this point for the remainder of the countdown. They will decide how to proceed with flight. And of course, we need that final go, though, from the launch director.
Launch director, go for launch.
That's what we like to hear. We are now about 30 seconds away from liftoff. And don't worry, I won't be yapping through the whole thing. I will quiet down once it lifts off so you can hear the noises. Just keep in mind, it does take some time to reach our microphones, which are about 4 miles away at the press site. So it does take a little bit of time to reach us. 15 seconds to go. Next steps will be the Rainbirds, which is a water deluge system at the base of the pad, activating at T-minus 7 seconds. It'll be hard to see through the bushes there. Then there's a green flash of something called T-Tab. That's what helps ignite those 9 Merlin 1D engines. We have ignition and liftoff of Falcon 9 and Starlink 6-101. Go Starlink V2 Minis, go.
That's a beautiful sight right there. There comes that rumble.
we go. With that trail behind it, you can see that is a key indicator that Falcon 9 is passing through max Q, maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle, as Jay was just talking about just a couple of minutes ago. You can hear the animals in the cave making all those noises, angry they got woken up at 2:22 a.m. Eastern Time, which was the time of liftoff. Now over 90 seconds into flight, and of course, as it gets to the thinner parts of the atmosphere, the plume will expand outward, and it will also start to make that color change from that orange to a more purple, and then eventually to blue. Gorgeous colors of a night launch.
Absolutely. And that plume expansion is because as the rocket is getting up higher into the atmosphere, there's less atmosphere, which is applying pressure into the actual plume itself. So that allows the central engine to push all of the other ones outwards more, which is what makes it sort of fan out like this in this sort of almost flower pattern.
Atmosphere also impacting those colors. As you can see, there's the purple
Look at that.
and then to the blue. And that usually happens right before 3 events in rapid succession. The first one should be in a couple seconds here, which is MECO, main engine cutoff, right on time.
Absolutely.
Next up will be the separation of the first and second stages. And then once that happens, the Merlin vacuum engine will ignite. And here is the slightly delayed SpaceX view of it. There is that separation, and there is MVAC ignition. You could see there the booster a little bit in the plume still from Jerry's shot. Jerry is the one tracking for us tonight. Coming up next is the payload fairing separation. Those two pointy halves at the top of the rocket, one will push the other away, the other will get pushed away, and then they will both make their way back down to Earth using thrusters and parachutes to help guide them down to a soft splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean. And there they go. Each of those will then be scooped up by Bob, located downrange, and those will then be brought back to Port Canaveral, refurbished over at SpaceX's Hangar X, and then flown again. In fact, you can see one of them kind of in the edge of the plume there. It was a really cool shot.
Yeah.
3.5 minutes into flight, everything looking beautiful tonight. Again, as we pointed out, there is that drone ship downrange that will be there for a booster to hopefully land on it shortly. That is called Just Read the Instructions.
And I love that we can just faintly see from the onboard camera for the first stage. You can just faintly see clouds down below the booster as it sort of reorients itself around for the reentry.
Exactly. And those occasional puffs that you see, that is the cold gas jet thrusters that Falcon 9 uses. Those little puffs help to kind of orient the vehicle and help steer it in the parts where there are less to no atmosphere. Of course, once it gets to the thicker parts of the atmosphere, that's when those grid fins will do a lot of the work. Those are those kind of, I always call them waffle-looking like structures, which are a little hard to see at night, but those will help steer in the thicker parts of the atmosphere. And then, of course, the engines also can move and wiggle in something called thrust vector control, of which for entry burn, there are 3 engines that fire up, and for landing burn, just a single Merlin engine. And meanwhile, it has now passed through apogee, or the highest point in its trajectory. So now it is on the way down. You'll see that speed picking up, the altitude going down on the bottom left for stage 1. Thankfully, though, that is not happening for stage 2, where the altitude and speed continue to climb, now at almost 11,500 kilometers an hour and 144, about to be 145 kilometers in altitude. This is a view, by the way, up from the interstage. So that little black part that you see on Falcon 9, it's that random black kind of section in the middle, that is the interstage. That's what you see here. That is basically where the Merlin vacuum engine sits, and that kind of triangular pointy thing that you see in the middle, that kind of goes right in the center of that Merlin vacuum engine for when they separate. Over 5.5 minutes into flight, everything looking good. So coming up on that entry burn, which starts off with a single Merlin engine in the middle, then it goes to 3 engines. Then it will go back down to a singular engine before finally shutting down. So we should be seeing that momentarily. We always like to say it's a good indicator of when it starts to look like a rectangle in the plume. That is usually when all 3 engines are up and running.
And there it goes. Oh, no, sorry, that's still cold, the gas thrusters.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Okay, there it is.
That's what you were talking about of kind of getting that fuel to not slosh around.
Yep,
for that
yep,
lighting.
that's exactly what it was.
That's
It
what
was
the
throwing me
drone ship is
off.
So there we go. There's the single engine, and now it looks like we have all 3 engines burning. Again, that kind of more rectangular shape in the plume. And again, we always talk about, you know, the soot on the outside of Falcon 9 for its kind of battle scars as it's come back
Stage
through
1 entry
reentry.
burn shut
This
down.
is where it earns those.
Yep.
And then back to the single engine and shut down. Looked like a good entry burn, and now the plasma coming through those grid
Ooh.
fins.
Now you get a great view of the grid fins.
Oh, yeah. Now about 25 kilometers in altitude with just read the instructions down below. In just a little bit, you should see a sort of glowing light through that leftmost grid fin. Once you see that, that will be the deck of the drone ship, which again, being a drone ship, there is nobody on board. There are not boats anywhere close to it. So there it is. You can see that light, that little singular pixel that's glowing there, kind of in the top left. That is the drone ship.
That's crazy to see from space. Well, I guess in atmosphere now, upper atmosphere, but
Yeah,
still.
10 kilometers.
Stage 1 transonic.
Yeah.
And there you go. Speaking of, stage 1 now transonic, so about to go slower than the speed of sound.
Mm-hmm.
This is where if you're down below, you would hear that sonic boom, but of course, this is about 500 kilometers downrange in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Yep.
Meanwhile, stage 2 continuing its trajectory, that has maybe about 45 seconds to a minute left. Let's take a look now all the way down here as we get for that landing burn, 4 kilometers up.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There we go.
There
There's
we
that
go.
single center Merlin engine doing its thing.
Mm-hmm.
You see the grid fins now starting to wiggle to help steer.
Yep. I
The
see
engine,
a
of course,
glint
doing-
below it.
Yep, the engine doing its bit. There's the view from on top of the drone ship with the sort of
Landing light
water
deploy.
deluge system that the drone ship has started using recently. Landing light deploy. And
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
Touchdown.
beautiful, successful landing for Falcon 9. And this booster now completing its 5th flight. And now a
MVAC
couple seconds
shutdown.
left before MVAC shutdown. As you heard, the Merlin vacuum engine shutting down for the first of 2 times tonight. And now we wait for the all-important 3-word call. And say the thing. Orbital insertion. There you go. That's what we normally hear from that one. It's a little hard to hear tonight. That's typically
Listen,
what we expect to hear. The numbers looked pretty good, though. I can just tell you that from having seen hundreds of these. That's the numbers we expect to see. Again, this is the 100th Group 6 launch, so
every other call you had on the dot. It was perfect timing.
thank you. Almost like I've done this a few times.
Yeah.
Already into the replays here. Carson doing amazing work with that. You can see this from our fleet cam located at Rusty's, which is a restaurant over in Port Canaveral. We have 2 cameras over there, which we are very grateful that they allow us to use in exchange for the occasional gator bites. So, yeah, go check out their gator bites. They're actually delicious. And that is also the same spot that the booster will be returning to. So that is where the drone ship will come back with the booster, and you'll be able to watch that on our Space Coast Live 24/7 cameras. And then we go to Fleet 2, Electric Boogaloo. Rising right behind some of the infrastructure there at the port, behind the power lines.
And I know we say it all the time, but there really is no substitute. If you have the opportunity to see a launch in person, absolutely see it in person. No amount of cameras or microphones can possibly replace the experience of seeing a launch yourself, because the sound alone, while it's a nice rumble through computer speakers or headphones, if you're there in person, it sounds like the sky is being ripped open. It is an unbelievable experience. So if you ever have even a slight opportunity to be able to go be near a rocket launch, absolutely do it.
Agreed. It should be on everyone's bucket list if you get a chance. Again, this from one of our robotic cameras. Again, Dan and Jerry have been hard at work on these the last couple days, upgrading our views and getting all of the securements down for our cameras. So shout out to the team working to continually improve all of our camera views out there. We appreciate it. Trying to make them less shaky in the wind too. And this another one at those robotic cameras located atop our press building that we have over at the Launch Complex 39 press site over on the Kennedy Space Center side. And then again, this was a track done remotely from Gage down in Starbase. Tracking, we not only have 2 boosters rolling, but we also have a remote track of Falcon 9 here. I love these views from our other Cape cams where you get the side-on view, especially for these southern trajectories.
That's great. And it's exactly why we like seeing all of the coverage from you folks, too. Any images or videos that you take, feel free to share with us, because it is incredible to see it from all sorts of different angles.
Exactly. And again, right before the Miko there, when it gets to that blue,
Ooh.
oh, there's nothing like seeing that color in person. I'm telling you, for a night launch,
Yep.
It's weird because it's not like it just changes. It's not like it does anything like it. Just kind of gradually fades down the line, like from orange to purple to blue. I love it. And this, of course, the track from Jerry Pike out there, freezing tonight, hopefully with a coat soon. How about we listen in one more time for the launch and listen in again for those animals, which Jerry's telling us were hogs. There they are. Those pigs just glad that Falcon 9 didn't turn them into bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah, who needs VAB squeal when you've got hog squeal?
They're just appreciating the sound that you can feel in your chest.
Which people don't realize that the Kennedy Space Center is located on the Merritt Island Wildlife Preserve. So it is actually a wildlife preserve that happens to have rockets launching through it. And one of the native animals to the area, besides the alligators and the bald eagles and things like that, are hogs. They are wild hogs, but they're not the cute ones that you see at a petting zoo or something, or at a farm. No, they're mean. They are very mean hogs. Do not go near them. Do not try and go near them. They will try and charge at you. I have been warned many times. I have seen them roaming around, and I have tried my best to stay away from them. So yeah, don't pet the piggies if you come to the Kennedy Space Center. Fair warning now.
Also, as a general rule, don't go near any wild animals. Just as a heads up.
And yet Max Evans will go out there shooting pictures right up in front of an alligator's eyes, like, "Hi, Swamp."
Oh, man, yeah. That's a great shot that he got from that, though.
Yes. Amazing quotes from me tonight. Don't pet the piggies and that kind of triangular pointy thing. I am on my game tonight. I think that's my turn to wrap things up then before I start saying weirder things. Jerry Pike, as I mentioned, is the one out in the field bringing all those tracking views to you and surviving both the cold and the wildlife. Thank you, Jerry, for doing that. Also tonight we had JG, as I've been calling him, American J, helping us out here with the commentary. Thank you so much for joining tonight.
Oh, always happy to join you for a launch. It's been a pleasure.
And Carson Phillips has been the one pushing the buttons, pulling the levers tonight, and bringing views, including a nice little edited preview of how we got to where we are today. Awesome work, Carson. Thank you for that. And I am Sawyer Rosenstein. I have been your host for this evening/early mornings broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you for the next one. Don't forget, This Week in Spaceflight coming out tomorrow. Keep an eye out for it. We will see you for the next one.
And here we go. There's the W. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Gino.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation. 343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No! Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.